I make this sacred pledge to you, the defense, protection, and preservation of American democracy will remain, as it has been, the central cause of my presidency. As we begin this election year, we must be clear. Democracy is on the ballot.
Ain't nothing changed, nothing new here to see. This ain't nothing but some political maneuvering.
America.
Welcome to the eulogy, eat it up. It's called political buffoonery.
Hey there, everybody, and welcome to This Week in DUMBmocracy, where we showcase some of the dumbest newsmakers of the week. You heard it in the opener, folks. Democracy is on the ballot. That's Joe Biden's 2024 clarion call for his re-election campaign. But is that really the case? And are Democrats being hypocritical in making protecting democracy the main issue in this campaign? We're going to get into all of this with some recent video, but before we do that, please subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any other shows. And if you like what you see and hear in this or any other video on this channel, smash that thumbs up button, like, comment, share the show with your friends, all that good stuff, because all of that feeds the YouTube algorithm.
Feed me.
Thank you to everybody for all that you do in getting the word out about the channel. And for all you new people out there, I hope I earn your subscription with this, or maybe the next video or the one after that. I hope you keep coming back, because I think we have some interesting conversations here, just like this one. If democracy is on the ballot, are Democrats practicing what they're preaching, especially in the context of trying to keep people off the ballot? Is that democracy in action? Let's get into some of the discussions here.
Sorry, didn't mean to frighten anyone.
Oh, she just pops out of nowhere, doesn't she? So, ABC This Week and George Stephanopoulos dug up Nancy Pelosi to talk about, among other things, January 6th. We just passed the anniversary of it, for those of you who are marking it. I hope you had a happy and healthy one.
It's freedom, baby, yeah!
And as well as the candidacy of the leading Republican that will most likely oppose President Biden, that being, of course, former President Donald Trump. And if you've been following the news lately, you know that there have been efforts to keep Donald Trump off the ballot in different states, specifically in Colorado and Maine, so that he wouldn't appear on the ballot. Therefore, he cannot win those states' electoral votes, therefore making it harder for President Trump to win the presidency.
Everybody got that?
But how exactly is keeping people off the ballot defending democracy? Let that be the topic of the day. Let's discuss this. Is it a proper defense of democracy by acting undemocratically and restricting certain people from the ballot? How do you feel about that? Let's get into Nancy Pelosi's analysis of whether or not Donald Trump should be on the ballot for president in various states. I'm going to give you a little spoiler warning. She doesn't really add a lot to the discussion except her own ignorance.
Yeah, of course, you have the trials that could take place with Jack Smith's investigation. You also have the Supreme Court taking up this challenge to President Trump on the 14th Amendment. Do you believe that Donald Trump engaged in insurrection?
Yes, I think that he engaged in insurrection. I think that he incited an insurrection. And again, that he would not stop what was going on. As his own people said, this is your legacy, smoke coming from the Capitol.
Yeah, well, you know, that's just like your opinion, man.
So we all knew that that was Nancy Pelosi's opinion, right? That President Trump allegedly engaged in insurrection, whatever that means to people. It seems like everybody has their own definition of insurrection. Everybody has their own opinion about the actions of Donald Trump, what they constitute, what they don't constitute. And it's all going to be subject to litigation, which, by the way, is pretty unprecedented. And I don't think that anyone can really read the tea leaves to see how that's going to be handled by ultimately the Supreme Court. Let's move on to the more substantive question of, well, if this is insurrection, then should President Trump be on the ballot or not?
If you believe he engaged in insurrection under the plain meaning of the 14th Amendment, you believe he's ineligible to be president.
Those laws, those are up to the states. They have different laws from state to state.
Stop bothering me with every minor detail.
I don't think he should ever have
the
been
Constitution.
president. But nonetheless,
Stammer.
Uh-oh. She just got challenged by George Stephanopoulos, and she's basically saying, initially at least, that the states can overrule the Constitution. And Stephanopoulos rightly points out that this is the 14th Amendment of the Constitution, the supreme law of the land. How can state law override the Constitution? And the stammering is, well, to be expected, because Nancy Pelosi is not here to give any sort of committal opinion on the different states' efforts to knock Donald Trump off the ballot.
there is a view of the Constitution in Article 14, Section 3, that he should not be able to run for president. But that's not the point. The point now is that, again, different states have different laws. We don't think in California that it applied.
But that Constitution, that's besides the point, right? Let's not talk about the Constitution. Let's talk about what states are doing. She wants to reframe the argument here, when honestly, it all has to do with the Constitution. Now, states may interpret the 14th Amendment and what it means and apply it to the facts as presented to them in their given litigation. But ultimately, the question is going to be resolved by the Supreme Court, the ultimate authority on what the Constitution means. No state is going to decide that. States can do what they want, but ultimately, all roads lead to SCOTUS. And Nancy Pelosi doesn't seem to realize that. It's kind of weird, given that she's been in government for, I don't know, about 150, 160 years or so.
In our state, that's what the decision was made here. But anyway, not to go into that because that's very intricate. What is very clear is that the American people want us to honor our oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States.
There's your theme coming in. The speech from Joe Biden was before this interview on ABC this week. She's hitting the theme of the Democratic Party now, that all roads lead to defending the Constitution. We're here to defend American democracy. We're here to defend the Republic. But let's give a critical eye to what Democrats have been doing to democracy, especially when it comes to the re-election of Joe Biden. Like what you see so far? Go ahead and smash that thumbs up button. Also, leave us a comment and tell us what you're thinking. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another show. So again, we're confronting the theme of Joe Biden's re-election campaign and the Democratic narrative that they are protecting American democracy. And we've already confronted the first question. Is it protecting democracy by preventing your chief rival from accessing the ballot? And if you ask rank and file Democrats, I guess the answer to that is yes. Take this clip from D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser on MSDNC.
Do you think he should be barred from any ballots given his actions on January 6th?
Well, I support every state taking very aggressive action to keep him off the ballot. He is undergoing, court action across America.
And that is extremely undemocratic.
If you're protecting democracy, then you should have faith in the voters to make the right choice. And more importantly, give the voters an actual choice. You can't rig an election, forgive my turn of phrase, by barring someone from accessing the ballot who earns the right to be on the ballot. Donald Trump should have the opportunity to earn the right to get on the ballot. By attempting to bar him from even being an option for voters, you're signaling to voters that you don't trust them. You're signaling to voters that, you shouldn't have to make this choice. We know better, and this person, he shouldn't be an option for you. Because we, your betters, we want you to make an informed choice and to choose our way. And we're going to bring up this word called insurrection to sort of put a thumb on the scale for you. But the scale is even a lie because Democrats don't even want you weighing that known quantity. And the big reason, as Nancy Pelosi alluded to in the interview with ABC this week, is that Donald Trump is perpetuating, quote-unquote, the big lie about the election in 2020, how it wasn't a fair election. but I'm pretty sure that Democrats themselves challenged an election result back in 2016, and they spoke about it for years on end. In fact, the RNC put together this video. I'm not going to play the whole thing because it's like 25 minutes long, of Democrats challenging the legitimacy of the election of former President Trump.
How can you win with Russian interference, though?
That's
what I'm scared about in 2020.
But rightly.
Because I think he's an illegitimate president that didn't really win. So how do you fight against that in 2020?
You are absolutely right. He's an illegitimate president in my mind.
Would you be my vice presidential candidate? Folks, look, I absolutely agree.
Trump didn't actually win the election in 2016. He lost the election, and he was put into office because the Russians interfered.
Russia interfered with our election, attacked our democracy for the sole purpose of artificially placing someone at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. They were successful.
Trump knows he's an illegitimate president.
The president-elect, although legally elected, is not legitimate.
I don't see this president-elect as a legitimate president.
You said you believe that Russia's interference altered the outcome of the election.
I do. We have a president who, if in fact it is proven, has been assisted by the Russians and may in fact not be a legitimate president.
So having seen that, I have to ask a second question. Why is it protecting democracy when Democrats claim an election is illegitimate, but it's not when a Republican rival claims the same thing? Shouldn't that also be protecting democracy? It seems like the Democrat definition, the narrative of protecting democracy, is not holding water. They're using it as a partisan weapon. But here's a third question for Democrats out there who are claiming that they are protecting American democracy. Are you protecting American democracy by not holding debates within your own party and stifling the voices of Democrats who want to primary President Biden? Let's go back in time to when Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was a democratically declared candidate. Back then, before he became an independent, RFK Jr. was talking about the unfairness of the DNC not holding debates, much like the RNC is doing. Let's go back in time and see what he had to say about this.
I think we're living in a period of our history, and it's really important to convince the American public that the system is not rigged against them, that we have a real democracy in our country. And part of having a democracy is that the public actually, the rank and file of the Democratic Party, the public gets to pick the candidate. It's not picked by the party like they do in the Soviet, or they did in the Soviet Union. It should be picked by the people. And they're not, the best way to pick them is to have debates, to have town halls, to do retail politics, to come out to places like this, to face the press, to face the public. Because otherwise, we have politicians who are living inside of a bubble. And the only people they're talking to are the billionaires who are writing the checks.
I totally agree with RFK Jr. on this. If Democrats really cared about protecting American democracy, they would be practicing American democracy. That includes having debates within your own party, allowing those within your own party to have a choice between candidates. RFK Jr. was clearly stonewalled, as we've seen in previous videos that I'm going to link in the top right-hand corner of this video, that you can see how the Democratic attacks against RFK Jr. were similar to attacks against President Trump. He's a racist, he's a xenophobe, he's a kook, he's a whack job. We've seen it before. So Democrats, using this protection of American democracy narrative, are really talking about protecting the power of the Democratic Party. It's important for all of us to understand that narratives during an election campaign must be challenged by voters. That's what I talk about in my book, Schnooks, Crooks, Liars, and Scoundrels, a field guide to identifying political buffoons, that's available right now on Amazon, at Barnes & Noble, and other online bookstores. Voters have to go beyond the surface level of just believing what a candidate says. They need to challenge narratives. They need to challenge positions. They need to challenge talking points from people like Joe Biden and even Donald Trump or whoever else is your candidate of choice that you want to investigate. When President Joe Biden is talking about protecting democracy, he is not really talking about protecting democracy so much as he is talking about protecting his presidency against Donald Trump, because he wants the association between Donald Trump and illegal activity, or Donald Trump and insurrection, or Donald Trump in bad behavior to be together in a voter's mind and to ignore his own actions. He doesn't want to talk about inflation being out of control for the past 3.5, 4 years. He doesn't want to talk about failures in foreign policy and how new wars have cropped up under his watch. He doesn't want to talk about the problems at the border and the caravan that's coming now that's going to have tens of thousands of people, or any of the silence in the crises in democratically controlled cities where migrants are being shipped to because they chose to be sanctuaries for them. He doesn't want to talk about substantive issues like that. He doesn't want to talk about what happened in Ohio and East Palestine. He still hasn't visited there. It's been almost a year. He doesn't want to talk about issues on his record. He wants you to always think that Orange Man is bad and that he is good defending democracy. But in actuality, Joe Biden and his party have not been doing that at all.
Hypocrite!
But at least that's just my opinion. I want to know what you guys think in the comments on the topic of the day that we discussed. And I want you to start thinking of these questions whenever you hear a politician speaking. Don't just go along with the narrative. Don't go with the flow. Ask these questions. Examine their history. Look at their other actions and make a choice for yourself. Are you being BS'd by another buffoon? Or is this person speaking and acting credibly? Let's keep having conversations like this during the year on this show. And please subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any other shows. Like and share this video as an example to others that you need to be a critical thinker when you're a voter this year, and have them come here with you so we can have more conversations about all the shenanigans and buffoonery that happen every day this week in DUMBmocracy.
All views and opinions expressed here are not necessarily of the mainstream media and may offend some listeners. It's called political buffoonery.